Suresh Makhija, a seasoned corporate travel professional and author of The Rookie Corporate Gardener. The book is available on Amazon and is a must-read for colleagues who have been or are likely to be affected by the growing magnitude worldwide of layoffs, downsizing, or furloughs. I'm delighted to be hosting The Journey Manager, which is the corporate TMC series for the Dope News. I look forward to bringing to you fruitful insights from the perspective of the corporate service providers, particularly the travel management companies. Hello, everyone. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused great havoc across the world, and particularly so in the field of travel. We are here to look at the perspective from the service provider, that is the travel management companies, the TMC. I have with me today a very experienced corporate travel management professional who has over the last 25 years or so seen various phases of the travel industry, in the corporate travel industry in India as well as overseas, and can share great insights into how things are expected to pan out. He is none other than Mr. Praveen Gandhi, fondly known as PG within the industry. In fact, he holds the distinction of being the first CFO of a TMC to have been elevated to become the business owner and the CEO of the company. Let me welcome PG.
So Suresh, thanks a lot. Thanks for the long introduction and the kind words.
Pleasure to have you, PG, and what prompted you to get into travel in the first place, and how your journey has been as far as business travel is concerned.
So it's interesting, Suresh, how I got into travel purely by an accident.
Okay.
I don't think it was designed to be this way.
Right.
I'm talking of good 30-35 years back when the choices were very limited. Choice was not where to find a job. So I got the job in Mercury Travels by an accident as an internal auditor on the merits. So I was happy. And except for 3 years in between, I have been stuck to travel itself. Has it been by design or has it been by choice? I don't think it's been by choice. I think it's an accident. That's how I got it.
So you've seen the industry from an India perspective, as well as from a global regional perspective. And we're going to talk today particularly about the COVID-19 impact. What is your broad overview of the situation for the corporate travel industry, and particularly from a TMC's perspective, in India as well as overseas?
Well, Suresh, we all know that the travel is totally smashed as of now. But I think in our lifetime, we are witnessing it for the very, very first time when the entire world has come to a complete halt here. 4 months back, could you and I could ever imagine that all the aircrafts would be parked in, and there will be no place for the parking of the aircrafts?
Yeah.
Corporate business, or the travel business, if you really look at it, business travel as we call it, is one part of the business which is muted. And I don't see a fast recovery coming back to business travel. Reasons, if you really look at it, corporate business houses as on date, most of them are looking at the cost containment. And we have seen in 2008 and 9, we have seen in past, whenever there is a cost containment or the cost reduction in the corporate houses, travel is considered a discretionary spend and possibly one of the first one to be hit. So corporate houses would like to conserve the cash once their businesses take off, instead of really allowing the people to travel as much as or as freely as they used to do earlier. Point number 2, during the pandemic time, we have seen that the e-meetings have really caught up like a fire. And a lot of companies have seen a lot of benefits of the e-meetings or the virtual meetings. One is that we are not wasting our time in commuting from a workplace or from houses to the airport and back. We are not waiting at the airports. We are fixing the meetings for 1 hour and we have to complete the agenda and the discussion within 1 hour's time. So that directly reflects into the efficiency and the productivity and the output. on the throughput that we are really giving back to the organization. Plus, it really saves the cost.
It's an accepted fact that despite technology being the enabler and making things very convenient, nothing can beat a face-to-face meeting.
Sure. Priorities keep on changing in every organization. Face-to-face meetings cannot be replaced with the virtual meetings, and they will not be replaced. However, a lot of work which possibly we were doing through actual travel might get accomplished on the virtual meetings.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is that it may not bounce back to the pre-COVID days.
Right.
Travel or business travel may not bounce back to the pre-COVID days as fast as the vaccine is available or as fast as the corporates may start traveling.
Right.
So the pace of that or the recovery of that would be slow. That's the only point I'm making, nothing else.
Sure. So let's take a cue from that. So let's say companies are willing to have their people travel. Let's say a company encourages a particular section, sales team or business development team to travel. How do you see the approach of the traveler himself, the corporate traveler, who previously has been very keen and enthusiastic to travel? Do you see that temperament changing or that approach changing post-COVID-19 lockdowns?
So Suresh, as I see it, a lot depends on number of factors. The factors being what would be the new normal as we really move along. We all have discussed enough and adequately enough that new normal is going to be different from the previous normal.
Yeah.
But what would that new normal be? Part of it possibly can be assumed today, but not really fully. And a lot depends on how and when the vaccine would be available for COVID-19. In fact, the recovery of the business and the pace of the recovery of the business will depend on how soon the vaccine will be available. If the vaccine comes faster, possibly you would see the MICE business and the holiday business would pick up pretty fast. If the vaccine does not come fast or early, you would see the delay in holiday business picking up as well as the MICE business picking up.
Yeah.
Because people would be worried to travel in the groups. People would be worried to travel in places where they are not very sure of the cleanliness, hygiene factors, as well as the preparedness.
Right.
And there is the unknown fear. There is an element of the unknown fear in the minds of the people. Oh yeah, certainly. And I would also like to add a couple of more factors. Today we do not know. A lot of countries have not even opened up the visit visas as yet. Now, what would be the conditions attached to the visit visa under the new normal? We do not know.
Yeah.
Will the health certificates be back? Yellow fever certificates, which ages back we used to undergo. Will that come back again somewhere for the COVID-19? We don't know.
Yeah.
Will the conditions of the quarantine would prevail? We do not know. So I think clarity needs to emerge as fast as possible.
Right.
And somewhere, I really do not know. I mean, I have not really gone through the constitution of IATA, but I do feel being the global travel body for the travel business or for the aviation business, I don't even know why they are not coming out with the standard protocols, which should be binding to all the countries altogether.
Right.
I think it becomes the responsibility of IATA to really ensure, to coordinate with the various governments around the world to make sure that the standardized protocols are introduced and then put in place as quickly as possible.
No, absolutely. And I think the very valid point that you made about the situation changing, the rules changing, and going to be dynamic and in a state of flux, that brings me to another thought, particularly, and you see this gets compounded for international travel because of the number of countries and each one possibly having a different set of rules. Does the expertise or the method by which a travel consultant handles the corporate traveler, does that need to undergo a change? Do you see that happening? And do you see TMCs as well as the agents, the travel consultants being adaptable to what is required moving forward?
Oh, certainly, Suresh, as I look at it, in fact, I'll go a step further in that. Before we come to the travel consultants, I think we need to really look into as to how the procurement of the travel business would change. How the travel policies of the corporates would change. Will it impact the new procurement process under the new normal? Will it really impact the objectives of the travel policies? You see, today, if you really look at the travel policies of most of the corporates, the major factor in that is the cost factor. Possibly, a shift would take place from cost to health as well.
Safety, yes.
Isn't it? So when the objectivity changes from only from cost to cost plus the health and the safety, and then what would be the expectations on health and safety, how the possibly the processes has to be built into the day-to-day booking of the tickets for the travelers, not depends on that. That is what would determine what would be the new processes, what would be the new technology, how the whole thing can be digitized instead of really keeping it manual. And then basis of that, possibly new skill sets, new training to the travel consultants would be important to ensure that the travel objectives of the corporates are met. Only then possibly the travel agents would be justifying their role in the whole process, otherwise not.
Right. So, do you see the opportunity for TMCs to be partnering with the corporates in the creation of these new travel policies or amendments to their existing travel policies?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Suresh, if you really look at it, most of the TMCs, I would say, they don't work as a supplier or a travel service provider to the large global companies. They work as partners. Now, when I say partners, I don't mean that the equity partners, but they are the equal partners as stakeholders in providing certain services.
Yes.
To satisfy the needs and the requirements and the objectives of the travel policies of the corporates, corporates would expect some more new additional things to be roped in, or the processes to be roped in, or the expectations to be roped in. Now, will that come by the investment of only of the corporate sector, only of the TMCs, or jointly? It is a matter of the partnership between the two.
Right. Let me go to another aspect of corporate travel management. So previously it was the traditional TMC that specialized in corporate travel. Over the years, it's evolved to consolidators, OTAs, and several other different players who have entered the formal corporate travel management space. Their financial model is extremely different from the traditional TMCs. Do you see things changing? Do you see the OTAs becoming the lesser preferred agency of choice? How do you see the entire scenario panning out?
Financial model of both the companies, they differ very, very greatly. They differ. If you look at the OTAs, what are they focusing today? But yes, the market reality is that most of the e-commerce business, or the technology business, or the online business, as we call it, valuations are not done the same way as the valuations are done for the traditional businesses. Now, interesting aspect of that is, and the valuation of the OTAs or the e-commerce companies are mainly dependent upon the top line. When I say top line, I'm talking of sales as well as revenue, nothing beyond that, or possibly the market share, as we really look at it. And that is what determines the valuation of that. So all the OTAs are running towards and chasing the top line, and they're chasing the valuations to the best of my information. Most of them, I won't say all. But to make any business or every business more sustainable for a longer term, you need to have a right balance between the cash flow as well as between the bottom line. So OTAs, if you really look at it, they are managing their cash flow very well because they are selling everything on the credit card. by selling everything on the credit card or on the cash does not mean that they are managing their cash flows very well, but they are cash rich.
Right.
Let me put it that way. But their bottom lines are suffering. You look at the traditional model of the business, travel agency business. They are very profit conscious. The owner, which is a mom and pop shop, he wants to see a profit on every ticket which is being sold. And he says that he wants to bank every penny of the profit that he has earned on every ticket. However, they are compromising on cash flow because they are giving extended credits to the corporates. They are working more like a finance company than of a travel company. So coming back to traditional companies, and it's the traditional companies, if you really look, again, I'll divide them into two pieces. One is the global TMCs,
right,
where most of the business, or more than 40 to 50% of the business, is done on the credit card. Rest is done on the credit. While the major number of companies, those who are taking care of the corporates, they are the mom and pop shops, or they are owned by the individuals. They may not be mom and pop shops as we really call them, but they may be the professional companies, but they are owned by a single owner. And they are using extended credit or the credit given to the corporates as one of the tools to sell. So they are, while they are managing their profitability well, they are compromising on the cash flow.
right.
So both the companies have to possibly set right their balance between the two items. Only then they will be much more sustainable.
So do you see the current situation catalyzing that?
Yes, I do see that current situation has glorified or brought these things on the surface.
Right.
Now coming on to the operational and the other pieces, I think the OTAs have done a great job. If you really ask me, the OTAs have really built absolutely a great business model. If you take out the financial model out of what they are doing, I think they have done a great job. Unfortunately, the TMCs have missed out on that. In the last 15 years, they have not focused on the technology. Even if they have focused on the technology, they have not really implemented it well. We have enough tools in the market. We will call them self-booking tools. We will call them whatever way we want to really call them.
Right.
But really speaking, the implementation, how easy is it to really operate that? How easy is it to really work everything on a single window up till the MIS, up till the emergencies, that really SOPs, I think TMCs haven't done a very good job in that. I think they need to catch up on that with the OTAs.
Right.
And this gap which is coming out in the market today is possibly needs to be bridged, between the TMCs and the OTAs.
Opportunity seems to be at a peak at this point of time.
Oh yeah, and I think business models will have to be changed, Suresh. I mean, honestly speaking, the way the things are, we know that a lot of airlines will go down around the world. A lot of travel agencies will get shut. A lot of travel agencies would be sold and bought, A lot of travel agencies will also get shut. Will the GDS revenue which comes to travel agencies will continue to keep on coming the way it used to come is a question mark. Will the PLBs continue to come the way they were coming earlier is a question mark as of now. So my take is that the business models are going to change.
Right.
Will we be able to afford, or will the traditional companies be able to afford the extended credit as they were extending earlier is a question mark.
Right.
My take is no, completely no. Will the
so
new payment methods will come for the, yes, they will.
Right.
Will the traditional companies find a new way of doing a business? I think they have no choice. So sooner they do it, better it is. And possibly everyone will have to think as to how we can minimize our cost per transaction. And that can be done only when we have maximum possible automation, robust processes, and the right kind of people behind it. So the people, processes, and technology is going to play a very, very critical part in the days to come.
So you preempted my my next question in terms of what TMCs should be doing in terms of doing that. So it's been a really interesting conversation to get your perspective from an outside point of view, because not being directly involved with the TMC at this point of time. What would be your mantra for the TMCs in just a couple of sentences?
That's a difficult one, but yes, as I said, conserve cash as much as you can. Don't extend credit. And even if you do that, try to recover the money before you pay to the airlines.
Right.
Number 3, make sure that you are able to bring your cost per transaction to the barest minimum. Conserve the cost cash as much as possible. Be aggressive in the market. As a lot of agencies will go down, a lot of agencies will grow very fast. So there is an opportunity in every challenge. We have seen that in the past, and we will be able to witness it days to come. I think there are opportunities are going to be enormous.
Right.
The only thing we have to see is how best to strategize to really tap those opportunities and to make the best of that. And then your corporate and your customer will continue to remain in the focus. Make sure that you deliver on their objectives of the travel policies. That is what is going to be the mantra. If you really deliver on their objective policies with the minimum cost, with the no credit extended, and getting your payments in time, with the as much as automation as possible, I think TMCs are going to be the winners on that.
I could see your strong finance background coming to the fore while giving this mantra. And I mean, eventually finance is the lifeblood of any business, and more so the TMCs at this point of time. So thank you very much, PG.
Not at all, Suresh. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for having me on your show. And I only hope that even if a little bit of it comes to somebody's help or somebody's support or somebody's reinforcement of the thoughts, I'll be happy, and I would be thinking that I'm giving back to the industry what I have learned over a period of time.
Appreciate your taking out the time and sharing these valued insights, and I look forward to several more such opportunities to get your views. And thank you once again.
Likewise, all the very best. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you everyone for watching. Do like, subscribe, and share to be able to see many more such insights that we intend capturing and bringing to you over the next few weeks. Thank you again.